What you're about to hear isn't an easy story. It's a raw confession from a woman who lived through years of abuse, not just from her father, but from the emotional damage it left behind. Her stepsister's tragedy became part of that same broken chain, and her testimony reveals the truth about how deep generational trauma can go. Before we dive in, if you guys like Christian content, don't forget to subscribe, comment down below, and like the video. Thanks for the support. I'm warning you guys, it's almost a 10-minute video, so if you want to speed it up, go right ahead. Alright, let's jump right into it.
My sister had a baby with my father. Let's talk about it. I know there's a lot of true crime people that I follow on this app, and this is a story that you probably would love to listen to, and if you want to take a deep dive, stick around. We're going to go off of timelines first and details later. If you guys have any questions or want a story time on specific details, please let me know in the comments and I'll be glad to share them with you. The reason I'm making this video is because I do hold a lot of trauma and I'm not in therapy, and I feel like my story could potentially help someone else in this situation and give them a voice. Hi, my name is Alyssa. I'm 26 years old and my father was put in prison in 2013. So like I said, we're going to start on timelines, and from the very beginning, my sister was born in 93, I was born in 99. My father is my sister's stepfather technically. He raised her from the time she was 4 years old up until she was 18 years old. Her real father was not actively in her life. My father was, so she called him dad. That was her dad. My father was an over-the-road truck driver, and a lot of times addiction comes along with that kind of job, and my mother was also an addict as well. My sister started getting abused when she was younger by my father, and DCF was involved and took me and my sister out of my parents' care and placed us with our grandparents. I was placed with my dad's parents, and my sister was placed with my mom's parents. During this time of being placed with my grandparents and my sister being placed with grandparents, my mom decided to stay. Not only did she stay, she thought it was a good idea to get pregnant with my younger brother. My younger brother was born in 2000. We were living in Pensacola, Florida in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, single-wide mobile home. Mind you, my parents are heavy in addiction at this point, and the abuse still continued once we were placed back in their care. My parents constantly were physically fighting each other, arguing constantly. It was terrible. A couple years go by and my parents decide that they are going to get clean and get on a straight and narrow path. We moved to Cantonment, Florida. I'm not sure the year. But as a child, I remember thinking to myself, this is amazing. We're going from a trailer to a block home with a pool and acreage. We're going to have our own bedrooms instead of 3 children all piled into one room. I thought it was going to be great. Little did I know, it was going to get worse. My parents decided to leave the addiction in the past, and my father decided to pick up another addiction with alcohol, and it was extremely severe. The abuse in the home continued to happen all the way up until my father was put away in prison in 2013. My mother claims that she didn't know how to get away from this man. There was no opportunity for her to ever leave him. Blah, 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 blah. Now that I'm an adult myself with children, I know in my heart and mind that if something were to ever be happening in my household with my spouse and my child, I would leave. And he would probably leave in a body bag. But moving forward, the abuse with my sister and my father continued to happen in the house in Cantonment where we had lived. The man that owned the house also owned a lawn care company, and my mother started working for him. The lawn business was ran out of the backyard where we were living and renting the house. We became extremely close with the owner of the house. He was like an uncle to me. We would go to his house, we would have parties and things like that, get-togethers and whatnot. And you might be thinking, why is this important? But we will get there. We lived in this house for probably the longest period of time we've ever lived in a house. While living in the house in Cantonment, the abuse continued to get more and more and more severe, and I didn't ever think it was going to stop. Also, keep in mind, years are going by, I'm getting older. As I'm getting older, I'm starting to question things like, why is my dad locking me and my brother out of the house and telling us to go clean the pool or go play outside, right? My brother and I would try to go back inside the house and the door would be locked, and my sister and my dad would be in the home alone. At probably 8 or 9 years old, maybe younger, I definitely thought something was weird. As a child, with the abuse going on, I was extremely terrified to say anything to anyone. My father was an extremely terrifying man. Extreme. My reasoning as a child for not saying anything was, I was scared if I mentioned that something weird was going on with my mom, my sister, and my dad to my mom. If I said anything to my mom, I was terrified that my mom was going to approach him. She was going to tell him what I had told her, and then he would retaliate and hurt me. So I never said anything. I never said anything. And yes, to this day, I do have guilt, and I sleep with that every single day. Now, the crazy part that comes in is, like I told you, the guy that owned the business, running it out of the backyard in the home we were renting from him, approached my mother and questioned her about my father and my sister's relationship, that it was weird. Mind you, this came out of the blue, according to my mom. She questioned my dad and my sister, and they said, no, nothing's going on, right? Me, as a mom today, if any outsider is coming to tell me that something is going on, or I think something's going on with your spouse and your child, done. Before it even got to this point, it should have been done. So the landlord / lawn business owner that had questioned my mom about my dad and my sister's relationship, his relationship with my dad became pretty rocky, and my parents decided that we were going to move. We moved to a house on Abbey Lane in Pensacola, Florida, and not long after we moved in, maybe several months, is when the big secret came out. I can go into detail about the night that everything did go out. If you guys want a story time on that, please drop it in the comments and I will be glad to tell you that story. Now, when everything did come out, my father denied every bit of everything up until there was a child born, and DNA proved that 99.999% DNA was his. Mind you, my sister did not find out that she was pregnant until she was several months along, and it was right before we were going to go to trial. Trial happened in July of 2013, and she had the baby in February of 2013. Now that pretty much sums up the timeline of everything that I've endured in my childhood. However, there is so many stories that I have about things that my parents have put me through and my siblings through. So if you would like to hear a story, or you're interested about everything that happened, feel free to drop a comment. I'm going to use this as a diary / therapy session / trauma dump. I don't care. I just want my story out there. It's been so long, and I've sat for a long time, and I just want to feel some sort of justice for myself. And my father being locked away in prison is not the justice that you guys think that I need. It's more than that. I hold trauma. I will hold the trauma for as long as I'm alive. So, if you're interested, please stick around. I want to share this with everyone. I want to share this story. I want to help someone if they have been through something similar. Yeah. And that's me and my life.
This reminds me of the story of Lot and his daughters, a family broken by trauma and fear. Their choices came from pain, not peace. And that's what happens when generational sin goes unhealed. But just like God spared Lot from destruction, he can still bring healing to any situation, no matter how dark it seems. So if you live through something similar, know this: your past doesn't define you. What the enemy meant for evil, God can still turn for good.